Welcome to another installment of Blacklight Cinema Reviews. My name is Victor, and this is my Jaeger.
Emilio.
And tonight we'll be reviewing Pacific Rim. To start off, though, we'll be talking a little bit about the story. Emilio?
Pacific Rim is a film that takes place in a dystopian future where there is a giant transdimensional portal at the bottom of the Pacific Ocean, where giant monsters come out of, known as Kaiju, attacking everything in their path, to which the government, now afraid, initiates the Jaeger protocol, which allows us to fight these monsters back with giant robots.
Burn.
And now we got a film.
Burn. Burn.
Good?
Yeah, I'm done.
So what stood out in the film to you?
Well, getting straight into it, I will say that this movie is largely spectacle. There are a lot of great visual effects in this film. None of them look cheap or cheesy at all. They all look realistic and they really look terrific. So I have to hand it to the production team and the visual effects team of this movie. They really sold this film in the best possible kind of way. All the fights look amazing. They all look fairly realistic. You can tell the moment that a Jaeger or the giant robot swings his arm and hits the monster, the effect that it has on the monster and vice versa just looks realistic and really looks enjoyable. It's just it's basically a great way to interpret how a fight between two giant beings, so to speak, would come together and how the destruction would look like. So in that respect, they did a fantastic job. Guillermo del Toro does an amazing job pacing this film. Not at any point in time did I feel like this movie was either dragging or cut short. Each of the characters is well developed and they have enough backstory to make them interesting and entertaining. Each of them has their own spark and personality, and that was really great because it really made them feel like a truly meshed ensemble. And so I got to hand it to not only the cast but Guillermo del Toro for bringing these actors together and pacing this film as well as developing an interesting and original story.
Let's talk a little bit about the actors in this film.
Of course. First and foremost, I am going to go to Charlie Day. He plays this erratic scientist, but he's kind of this nut that no one can listen to because he's slightly immature, but at the same time he's pretty much a genius and he's willing to take risks. I gotta say, as far as the humor goes in this film, a lot of it was hit and miss, but if there was a point where I could say, alright, there were good humor spots, it was definitely with Charlie Day and Ron Perlman also. Ron Perlman does a fantastic job and the cameo he's giving in this movie. I really want to say that he was terrific as well. Idris Elba plays the military man to the T and really is just an overall great character in this movie. You really feel like he's in charge and nobody else is going to tell him otherwise. Charlie Hunnam does a great job being the kind of main protagonist without taking over the movie. Each character, like I said earlier in this movie, has their own sufficient backstory as well as their own part to play in this film. But if I were to pick a main character, I guess he would probably be the main character as sold by the trailers. But he does a fantastic job too, and you kind of feel his pain early on in the film, which is great. Because it adds another layer without him being just another guy in a giant robot, so to speak, like some of the other pilots are in this movie. So that was pretty great. I gotta say that the Japanese girl who played in this film, she does a fantastic job, and her backstory is actually really interesting, so I'd pay attention when that comes around. Vern Gorman from The Dark Knight Rises does a really great job. He's kind of the same way as Charlie Day in that his behavior is fairly erratic, however he's a little more civilized. And there's a lot of funny moments between both Charlie Day and Vern Gorman and the way they interact with each other, because they hate each other but at the same time they respect each other, so it's like this marriage almost, and it's just really fun and it's really great to see.
So are there any downsides of the film?
One of the downsides is I felt like when I went into this film I thought each monster that came out of each battle was going to be different. I felt each were going to have their own qualities and their own techniques, and for the most part that's the case. There are a lot of unique monsters in this film, but it felt like towards the end or the middle endish, each monster started to look the same and started to act the same, and it really didn't bring anything different. So that was probably one of my biggest complaints about the film, is that it does get repetitive in that department. But that being said, there are a lot of interesting monsters, and they do have a few surprises in store for you regarding how they act and how they behave and what kind of abilities they do possess. So I would say that if it it is a gripe. It's a small gripe, and it's not something that'll take away from the film overall. And as I did mention earlier, there are a few attempts at humor here where they try to just slide it kind of in. And for the most part, the humorous parts come from the cast themselves. They really did a great job working together and selling those genuinely funny moments. Some of the ones that are kind of shoehorned in here may catch the attention of some people, but overall I felt they were kind of forced, and they really didn't do much for me in the film. But again, it's a small gripe at most, and it really won't take away from the film overall.
So we walked in this film not expecting much, but came out with more than what we bargained for with this film, with amazing action sequences between the monsters and the robots, with a lot of twists and turns, a lot of heart. So we really enjoyed it. So what would you rate this film?
I think easily it's going to score a 4.5 Blacklights in my book.
Yeah, my inner Power Ranger and Godzilla fan is going to have to give this baby 4 Blacklights. Again, I was expecting a popcorn flick, but Guillermo del Toro, that guy.
That guy.
That guy.
That guy. Alright guys, thank you again for joining us at another review here at Blacklight Cinema. Tell us what you thought about the film. Is there a monster movie out there or a robot movie that really just holds a special place in your heart? And if there is, please leave us a comment below telling us about it and whether we should review it or not. Thank you again. Leave your comments and suggestions below, and feel free to stop by the movies. Brr, brr, brr.